Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alright, so today I'm going to be giving you all a full tutorial on how to make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. And this highball is one that I love very much. It is, to me at least, the absolute perfect whiskey highball. As far as ingredients go, you're going to need some whiskey and some carbonated water. We'll cover the details in just a moment, but before that, I do want to acknowledge just one thing real quick, and that is that I do not encourage or condone consuming or drinking alcohol in any way, shape, or form. Alcohol is and always will be a dangerous substance, and so as such, well, do consume in moderation. And if you are going to consume alcohol, always make sure to stay hydrated. Dehydration while drinking is a serious issue. But what are these specific ingredients you're gonna need for, well, my perfect whiskey highball, my perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball, to say it correctly? Well, first off, of course, as said, you're gonna need the whiskey. And for this specific highball, you're gonna need some Evan Williams Bottled & Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, which in my opinion is the best whiskey I've tried so far from the United States for a whiskey highball. I've tried a couple different whiskeys so far, and I've found a lot of them to be very good, but some of them I just don't think would work very well in a highball. But the Evan Williams Bottled & Bond, it's smooth when drank straight, it's smooth in a whiskey highball, and it's just a great mixer as a whole. It also doesn't cost a whole lot. In my opinion, the Evan Williams Bottled & Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey really is the perfect whiskey for a whiskey highball if you're making one in the US of A. And so as such, well, that's my choice for my perfect whiskey highball as an American. As far as carbonated water goes, you are going to need a lemon-flavored carbonated water to be precise. What I have with me today is a Wegmans brand lemon-flavored carbonated water, but you don't need a Wegmans brand carbonated water in specific. You can get away with Target brand or Great Value brand or Kroger brand or Harris Teeter brand or LaCroix or something like that instead. But I like the lemon flavored carbonated water from Wegmans, so that's what I'm using during this video today. And those are the 2 main ingredients that you're gonna need for the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. But there is one other thing that you're gonna need as well. And of course, that is a glass. In specific, you are going to want a clear glass. If you don't use a clear glass, you cannot see how much whiskey and how much carbonated water you're pouring into the glass very well. And so as such, it will be very easy to get your quantities mixed up just a little bit more so than not, and to accidentally not make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. As such, always make sure to use a clear glass. I do suppose, without further ado though, I should probably go ahead and actually demonstrate how to make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. Now, shouldn't I though? So, without further ado, let's go ahead and quickly grab myself a thumbnail real quick before we go too much further into the video, before I go ahead and move my camera back and whatnot. So let's go ahead and grab myself a thumbnail real quick. I think I might have to blur these 2 ingredients so they remain a mystery for any of y'all who are clicking on the video and everything like that kind of thing. But I want to grab myself a thumbnail nonetheless. Let's see if I can do that. One other thing to mention is that the ideal scenario is to have your carbonated water be cold. However, it's not a necessity by any means. That's not a necessity, but that is the ideal scenario. If you do have cold carbonated water, use that rather than warm carbonated water. That is for sure. Let's move my camera back just a little bit more, and I think that should be perfect right there. All right, so we've got my glass right here. Let's go ahead and, well, start demonstrating how to actually make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. So first off, you're gonna wanna pour your whiskey in. So you're gonna wanna get the cap all off of your bottle of whiskey, and you're gonna wanna make sure you grab the bottle with 2 hands when you're pouring, because you don't wanna accidentally spill your whiskey all over the ground or accidentally drop the bottle and smash it onto the ground or anything like that kind of thing. You're trying to enjoy a 2-ingredient, the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. You need to make sure you grab with 2 hands. Ain't no dropping bottles here, that is for sure. Let's go ahead and pour it in though. And for this perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball, you're just gonna kind of wanna pour the whiskey to your liking. You're going to want to pour the amount you want, but feel free to use the exact amount that I personally prefer to use if you so desire. Let's go ahead, just start pouring just like that, and just do it very slowly. It's a lot easier to pour the whiskey out of the bottle and back in, and I think that should be good enough. So just like that, I would have to say that's probably like 1/10 of the glass. I would have to say like a 1 to 10 ratio of whiskey to carbonated water is about right for me. You might prefer a more like 1 to 5 ratio or something like that kind of thing, but I like a 1 to 10 ratio. That's my personal preference, and so as such, that's what I go for. Next up, you're gonna need your carbonated water, and you're basically just gonna fill the rest of the glass to your personal preference. You can fill it up halfway, you can fill it up all the way. I just pour in my whiskey, and then I pour in my carbonated water until my glass is full, and that's just kind of what I do in all honesty. So let's go ahead and demonstrate how to pour this in as well. Another thing that you're going to want to make sure you do is you're going to want to take your highball glass you have right here, and you're going to want to pour in on the side of the glass if possible, just slowly but surely, and you're going to want to make sure to try to cause the least amount of bubbles possible. You don't want a lot of foam on top by any means. This is a whiskey highball. It is supposed to be a bubbly drink. As such, you're going to want to make sure those bubbles do come through in the final, well, product, I do suppose. And yeah, that's your perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball right there. This is, in my opinion at least, the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball that you can make as an American. Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, Wegmans lemon-flavored carbonated water, and a Crown Royal clear glass. It all makes for the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. But how is my perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball that I've mixed up today? Well, let's go ahead and take a sip, and let's go ahead and find out. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And that is perfect. I'm getting, I would have to say, an undertone of whiskey. Very much, of course, the flavor of the Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, and I'm getting like a little bit of, I would say, like caramel, a little bit of like marshmallow, molasses, brown sugar kind of thing. But on top of that, I'm also getting a little bit of just a watery sort of lemony flavor, and they contrast and compare just really, really, really well. Overall, I gotta admit, very solid whiskey highball if I do say so myself. Absolutely no complaints on my behalf. And the good thing is, if you use a 355 milliliter can like this one right here, you've got not enough just for one whiskey highball, but you've got enough for 2 as well. So you get 2 drinks out of 1 can. Man, absolutely no complaints on my behalf. I really like whiskey highballs, though, I'll acknowledge. I personally find them to be very enjoyable. And while I do enjoy drinking my just straight liquor every once in a while, sometimes it's just a bit much. Sometimes I just want to have a drink that is really smooth, that I can drink quickly, but not have the burning in the back of my throat kind of thing. And at the same time, though, in that scenario, I also tend to actually want to be able to taste the liquor underneath, well, my mixer. You can't really taste the full degree of flavor from the rum in a rum and coke, or a whiskey in a whiskey and coke, or something like that kind of thing. But with a whiskey highball, and with, in specific, my perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball, you really can taste the flavor of the whiskey just so much underneath the carbonated water, because it's just lemon-flavored carbonated water. That's all that is going on. Now, are there any ways to make the whiskey highball, the perfect whiskey highball that I've made during today's video, any better? The answer to that is no. I'm sure some of y'all might have been thinking, oh man, he's gonna go ahead and say how he thinks this could be better. No, I said that this is the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball at the beginning of this video, and I'm sticking by it. What I've just made, what is sitting in my glass right here, is the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. Overall, do I like my whiskey highballs? Yes. As said, I love how you can actually taste the flavor of the whiskey underneath the lemon-flavored carbonated water, you really do get to appreciate both the liquor and the buzz without all the downsides of drinking straight liquor to really get the flavor kind of thing. I'm like, you get the flavor of the liquor without the burning in the back of your throat. Now, do you get the same amount of flavor if you were drinking straight liquor? No. But you do still get to appreciate the flavor of the liquor a little bit more so than not. And that's something that I really, 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 truly do love about whiskey highballs. They are very solid in my personal opinion. Some other things that I absolutely love about whiskey highballs is the fact that there's no added sugar in them at all. My carbonated water right here has no sugar in it. 0 grams of total carbohydrates. It's just carbonated water, natural flavor, and that's it. That's all there is. So this whiskey highball has like 3 ingredients. Technically, I'm like, it's a 2 ingredient because this is 1 ingredient, but this ingredient has 2 ingredients. So it's like technically only 3 ingredients. It's whiskey, bourbon whiskey, carbonated water, and natural flavor. Those are the only things in this. There's no added sugar. So, and I'm like, for me personally, if I drink like 3 rum and cokes in a night, then I will absolutely wake up not really feeling the greatest. Not really because of the alcohol, but actually just because of the amount of caffeine and sugar that I consumed. And if I want to drink like late at night at like 10 or 11 o'clock or something like that kind of thing, I don't really want to drink like a rum and coke unless it's like caffeine-free Coca-Cola, because at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night kind of thing, all that caffeine, if I have a rum and coke, is just going to make me stay up until like 3 or 4 a.m., and that's just not something that I really want to do. A whiskey highball, on the other hand, you're getting no added sugar. You're getting the pure buzz of just the liquor because there is no added sugar, and you're not having any caffeine either because there's no caffeine. It's carbonated water as the mixer kind of thing. You get all of the benefits of a rum and coke, i.e. Really smooth, really tasty, really good, with none of the downsides. Whiskey highballs are, to me at least, the ultimate mixed drink. I really enjoy my rum and cokes. Don't get me wrong, I love my rum and cokes, but like whiskey highballs, they're so easy to make, and they have so many less negative effects on just me feeling good the next day than rum and cokes do. Yeah, I gotta admit, very, very, very solid beverage. No complaints, no complaints. I think I'm definitely gonna be having to use the rest of my can to have another one after this one. I do think. You know, might as well show y'all how to make the perfect whiskey highball again after I have this beverage. Excuse me. Yeah. Whiskey highballs, I gotta admit, they are pretty dang good. And while what I am demonstrating today is the perfect whiskey highball, if you get tired of drinking your whiskey highball with like lemon-flavored carbonated water, you can always just use another flavor. Like, I definitely do think there's some flavors of carbonated water that will not work with a whiskey highball, but you could switch it up. You could use plain carbonated water. You could use lime carbonated water. You could use grapefruit carbonated water. You could use strawberry carbonated water. You could use any different number of carbonated waters to your personal preference. I really like whiskey highballs, and I think they have a lot of like just different things you can do with them, and I think they really are one of the perfect, just super easy to make mixed drinks out there. No, they're really solid. I see why whiskey highballs are so popular in some areas of the world, and I'm surprised they're not more popular in the United States. Got to do my part and make sure they get more popular. Very solid, very solid. Now, when you're mixing up your second drink from your can of 355 milliliter lemon-flavored Wegmans carbonated water, you gotta remember, most of the water was used with the first one. So for the second drink of the can, you're gonna wanna pour a little bit less whiskey than the first. So let's go ahead and get the cap all off of my bottle again. I'm gonna grab it with 2 hands, of course. As said, 2 hands, no dropping bottles here. And I'm just gonna pour in just a little bit less than last time. Go and put the cap back on, just like that. And there we go. I think that should do. That should be the perfect amount of whiskey for the slightly less amount of carbonated water that's in my can. One other thing to keep in mind is if you have an open can of this, the carbonation will go away very quickly. So if you open a can of this, make sure to drink 2 kind of in quick succession. Unless you're done drinking for the night, then don't. I'm not trying to encourage drinking. Do not drink alcohol if you do not want to. If you have some sort of illness or ailment that prevents you from drinking alcohol, do not drink alcohol. And just do keep in mind, alcohol is dangerous. It is not a safe substance to consume. It is a dangerous substance, and you can die from drinking too much alcohol. Drink in moderation, stay hydrated, be safe, and be safe. Yeah. Let's go ahead and pour in the rest of my carbonated water, though. As said, get it on the rim. Just like that. Oh, that's perfect. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And just like that, we have another perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. Absolutely no complaints on my behalf, let me tell y'all what. None at all. None at all. Let's go and get back to drinking. Man, I gotta admit, I do quite like my whiskey highballs. Do I have a buzz going? Absolutely, I have a buzz. And one of the great things about whiskey highballs is that you can kind of mix and match to your personal preference kind of thing. Not just with different flavors of carbonated water, as said previously, but also with different whiskeys. You could even make a whiskey highball with rum. You could make a rum highball, I suppose. I haven't tried that. I don't know if it would be good, but I suppose you could. You could do a gin highball. I've never had gin, so I don't know how that would be, but that might be good as well kind of thing. But you can really mix and match. You can do the amount of alcohol to your liking. You can do the carbonated water, the flavor of the carbonated water to your liking as well. The amount of carbonated water you're liking. There's a lot of different mixing you can kind of do and a lot of different messing around with whiskey highballs you can do. It's such a simple drink, but there's infinite varieties within that small box that is a whiskey highball. And, yeah. While my perfect whiskey highball, while in my opinion, the perfect whiskey highball is made specifically with Evan Williams Bottled and Bond White Label Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey and Wegmans lemon-flavored carbonated water, your perfect whiskey highball might be made with a different whiskey or a different carbonated water or something like that kind of thing. You might prefer a little bit less of a harsh bubbly, or you might prefer a more harsh bubbly experience from the carbonated water. You might want a little bit more strength, so you go for a higher proof whiskey, or you might want something that's a little bit lower proof kind of thing. It really all does depend on what you want from your drink at that point in time, and you can just mix and match to the fullest extent kind of thing. And another great thing about whiskey highballs is that while you certainly can make them expensive by using a very expensive whiskey, like I could totally use a $1,000 bottle of whiskey to make a whiskey highball. I could totally do that if I wanted to. Not that I want to. I also don't want to buy a $1,000 bottle of whiskey though, because I'd much rather spend that money on a car. Go on Facebook Marketplace and buy some beater for $1,000. I haven't seen any cars on Facebook Marketplace for $1,000 in a long time, though. But, or at least any running and driving cars for $1,000. I've seen plenty of broken cars for $1,000. But, if you wanted to use a $1,000 bottle of whiskey for your whiskey highball, you absolutely could. But, excuse me, if you wanted to use a really cheap bottle of whiskey for your highball, you absolutely could as well. Excuse me. Frankly put, really the only big downside of whiskey highballs is that they do make you burp, which is what I'm experiencing right now, but that's just the carbonation. You're going to get that from a rum and coke too kind of thing. But yeah, they do make you burp. They do make you burp. Where was I going with that? I don't remember where I was going with that. I think I was talking about how whiskey highballs can be like as cheap or as expensive as you want them to be kind of thing. Like carbonated water is never going to be particularly expensive. This is never going to be a super big deciding factor on the cost of your whiskey highball, especially if you get like store brand, no name brand stuff kind of thing, like Great Value or something like that kind of thing. Like you're going to be drinking on the cheap, frankly put. But you can go really expensive with your whiskey. I'm like, in my opinion, the Evan Williams, it's a great medium point. It's pretty cheap for what it is and for the quality that it is, in my personal opinion, but it's certainly not the cheapest by any means. You could certainly go cheaper. You could absolutely make like a super cheap whiskey highball or a super expensive one. And I think that's the beauty of a whiskey highball, frankly put, because you can make them as expensive or as cheap as you want. My perfect whiskey highball is kind of at a lower midpoint, I would say. I could definitely go cheaper, but I don't want to go cheaper because I really like how this specific whiskey is in a whiskey highball kind of thing. Yeah. The Evan Williams bottle and bond, it makes for a great whiskey highball, but as said, mix and match to your choosing kind of thing. You can use a really expensive whiskey, make a really expensive whiskey highball. You could use a really cheap one and make a really cheap whiskey highball. All you need is whiskey and a lemon-flavored carbonated water, or just whatever flavor of carbonated water you want to use, in all honesty. Whiskey highball, it's going to be there, making sure you're getting a buzz. No complaints on my behalf. None at all. None at all. Overall, gotta admit, I am buzzed right now. I am feeling good right now. I got no complaints on my behalf right now. I am enjoying my experience right now, I will admit. I don't know where I was really going with the whole expensive whiskey thing. I just kind of got on a tangent, and then I just completely lost my train of thought, and then I was like, where was I going with this? I can't remember. I would not spend $1,000 on a bottle of whiskey, though. I am A-okay. I would much rather use that money for a car. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my alcohol, and most times I would say that I would much rather spend that money on alcohol and tobacco products. And honestly, for the $1,000, I probably would still much rather spend that money on alcohol and tobacco products. It's just not one specific alcohol or tobacco product. I would much rather spend that money on many different, I'm like, for $1,000, I could literally buy, I'm like, this was a $35 bottle, so I could buy like 335, I'm just gonna say like 330 of these bottles for $1,000. No, that's not right. 35 bottles? Because 35 times 10 is 350. No, I could buy 35 bottles. I could buy 35 bottles of this whiskey for $1,000. I'd much rather buy 35 bottles of this whiskey than one bottle of $1,000 whiskey, I'll acknowledge. Hey, you might feel differently about that. That's just kind of my personal take. I'm a cheap ass. I like drinking cheap, high-quality products. That's my personal preference. That's what I like. I like inexpensive, good-quality items, you know what I'm saying? That's my personal preference. That's what I love so much, you know what I'm saying? Inexpensive quality items, man, I love them. I love them, let me tell y'all what. My drink, though, it's getting me a buzz. I'm feeling good right now. I got no complaints on my behalf. It's a little bit cold, a little bit snowy out here, but it is a beautiful day, I will acknowledge. It is a beautiful day, and I am thoroughly enjoying myself. I am thoroughly enjoying myself, and I hope you guys are thoroughly enjoying this full tutorial on how to make the perfect whiskey highball. I know I'm enjoying making it. Let's finish off my drink, y'all. And I think that was all there was. Nothing left in my carbonated water. There is plenty left for more whiskey highballs in my whiskey handle. But I'm pretty buzzed right now. I'm feeling pretty good right now. And I think I'm gonna leave this video at that. I have showed y'all to the fullest extent how to make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball. And I have had a great time today. Did I make a full tutorial? Yes. Did I show y'all how to make the perfect 2-ingredient whiskey highball as a full tutorial? Yes. Did I get a buzz? Yes. Did I enjoy myself? Yes. Overall, this was a good time. Overall, this was a good time. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed watching. If you guys have enjoyed watching, of course, like, subscribe, check out everything in the description down below. Excuse me. Oh my God. Until the next one, y'all, stay safe in peace and have a great one.